$200 million can go a long way towards improving the world. $200 million can be spent on all sorts of beneficial things. One of those things, of course, is not the Acolyte Season 2, yet that seems what the folks at Lucasfilm are determined to do. Hello, folks, and welcome to the place that is happy. We are ready to dive into a deep conversation today when it comes to the Acolyte, which is not all right, and yet it seems like it will see the light of a Season 2. At least that's what they're trying to lead us to believe with Disney, Star Wars, and D23. D23, of course, is the Disney conference where they will be celebrating the Acolyte. One thing's true, audiences are not celebrating the Acolyte, despite what the mainstream media and access journalists would like us to believe. Folks, we've got panelists you can believe. We've got Michelle of Force of Light and Lauren Connor of That Park Place both joining us. Welcome to you both.
Good to be here.
Yeah. All right, here we go, folks. Take a look at this. This is Top 10 Streaming Original Programs. And no, this does not feature the Acolyte. We have gone in the way back machine. We want to give major credit where credit is due to Mac, also known as Now It's Known over on Twitter/X, a huge supporter and great finder of all things data. And this is some dandy data we have here. Take a look at this. Miss Marvel, an absolute abject, no doubt about it, failure when it comes to Disney Plus streaming. So bad that there was no way on God's green earth this was ever going to get a second season. Miss Marvel charted on the top 10 streaming original programs back in 2022 with only 295 million minutes watched, and that was when there was episode 5. Now, this eventually would indeed fall completely off the charts to the point that you couldn't find it. And remember, that is a subcategory. That is not the overall top 10. That is a subcategory. So you're way down the list, but Nielsen tries to track these things as best they can. They've got to have enough data to track them, and so that's why you don't go into 20th spot or 30th spot or what have you. Take a look at this, though. What do we have? Well, if we look at this, we'll see that Andor, going back to 2022, Andor was actually charting on the original charts in its 7th episode with 418 million minutes watched. Well, guess what? If we go to Nielsen today, what do we find? Well, we do not find the Acolyte. In fact, we have not seen the Acolyte in a while. After the first 3 episodes, the Acolyte fell off of any subcategories whatsoever. And what this means is the Acolyte in season 1, after just 3 episodes, was tracking at least as badly as Miss Marvel, at least half as much viewership as Andor, and it likely has gotten worse. So, before we talk about this new thing that Lucasfilm is doing, attempting apparently to try to get a season 2 going, I just want to hand it to both of you. We'll start with Michelle, ladies first. I'm shocked at how bad the Acolyte is performing. It's worse than even I could have imagined. It's worse than Miss Marvel bad. How bad is it, Michelle?
Well, I mean, that's absolutely horrible that's the current state of Star Wars, but it is. And I would be interested if a good survey could be done. I would imagine that so many of the people who watched those first 3 episodes were just fans, like wanting to see what a train wreck it was.
Yes.
And I think once they saw, oh my gosh, it's this bad after that 3rd episode, they were like, we're out. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I think they were rubbernecking. I don't even,
yes.
We'll talk about hate watching.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think this was hate watching. I think this was people stopping to look at Roadkill and go, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And then never return.
Definitely.
Lauren, Star Wars is where it is. I want to show this to you. It's amazing to me, but here we have Gluttony for Punishment. That is the only thing that comes to my mind here. Star Wars, the official account, the official Star Wars X account. Yes, Disney came back. The dark side is coming to the Lucasfilm Pavilion at D23. Join the Acolytes, Manny Jacinto, as he reflects on the first season of the series and reveals new insights on the Stranger. Now, the reason that this is garnering such attention is because it claims the first season of the series, and people are saying, well, if there were not going to be more seasons, then they would just say he reflects on his time with the series the Acolyte. They wouldn't take the time to call it the first season because it's the only season. Now, Lauren, my sources have said that right now Leslie Headland does not have a contract for a season 2, and I believe that's true. Dose of salt, folks, though, a little sodium there. Can't prove it, but that's what we believe. In good faith, that's what we believe right now. And Lauren, I think that either this account is trying to engender some hope in the very few who like this series, or I think it's trying to pretend so that it saves face. I just can't believe, Lauren, after what we looked at with those ratings, that they would do a season 2. But Lauren, you might be more cynical than me. What say you about a season 2 for the Acolyte? Do you think they'll actually do it?
Well, there's 3 things that come to mind when we're talking about this. And the first is that in marketing, there's a concept called A/B testing. And there was the report from Chris Gore that came out earlier this week talking about how Kevin Feige is making changes over at Marvel, that supposedly there have been a number of producers cut to try and get activists out of the company, and that internally he admitted that, look, we tried this, it didn't work, we've got to go back to basics. He also said that Lucasfilm is lost and that you're not going to get anything good out of it because they're going to continue to double down. It's possible that Disney is doing A/B testing with this to try and prove the point. Let's change a variable on one side and not change a variable on the other side and see if there's a result. If there is, there's something provable that they can point to say, okay, we know now this is what's causing the problem. Whether that's what's happening here or not, I don't know. This is just a marketing blurb for D23. But the second thing is that if they are trying to push for this, if internally they're trying to make this happen, and if I remember right, I think D23 is in September. Is that right?
D23 is in August, I believe.
August, okay. Well, there's an important date coming up in October. And if it turns out that they are pushing for this, then you can bet that Kathleen's not going anywhere. And I think that may be significant. I think the other thing is that the only other Star Wars projects that we know of that are supposedly in production, one of which we know is in production, is Skeleton Crew, which there have been lots of back and forth about that. I don't sense any hype for that. We have been hearing internally that they're not happy with it. Some of the rumors are that it's not pushing the agenda as hard as Lucasfilm internally would like it to be, but it's also possible, and my feeling has always been, I don't think this is going to be a Star Wars show. I think it's a generic sci-fi that has got the Star Wars label slapped on it. I don't think there's any excitement around it. The only other 2 projects I think that we know about are The Mandalorian and Grogu, and supposedly the Rey movie. And they have to do something to try and drum up hype. I don't think they've got
coming to a halt, really. Isn't it? It's coming to a halt, though, isn't it, Lauren? I mean, there's nothing in the pipeline.
Yeah, and so point. I think that's part of the reason I think they may be dropping this is they've got to say something. There's nothing that they have that they've already announced that's generating any kind of buzz.
Well, I want to show this to you. I don't like to give any attention to Pablo Hidalgo for reasons that I think should be clear at this point within the community. But I will say that Pablo said this, and I think this might point to something that's at issue with what we're covering today. As Pablo was being his normal self, I just said to him on X, "Same to you, tell Kathy I said hello." And he responded and said, "She's down in Los Angeles." Now, for folks who don't know, Pablo Hidalgo works at Lucasfilm. He refuses to tell us what his title is. He tells us he doesn't do what he used to do, but who knows what he does, except be abrasive. I don't know. But anyway, he says, she's down in Los Angeles. Our paths don't cross very often. Now, the reason that I bring this response up, and Michelle, have at this, I kind of think that Kathleen Kennedy is gone. Like, I think she is the head of Lucasfilm, but she's not at Lucasfilm. I don't think there's oversight. And, maybe that's a good thing because Kathy is not great at oversight, but maybe it is Dave Filoni at this point who's really in charge of Star Wars. If Dave Filoni is in charge, I don't see that he has the backbone to stop an Acolyte Season 2 or to try to increase the quality of it. I watched Ahsoka. If he makes Ahsoka, I have no suspicion that he can improve on anything. Like, none. What do you think about this, Michelle? The idea that Kathy isn't in San Fran hardly.
Well, I would need to know, has she ever been?
Well, yes. So in the past, she was at Lucasfilm quite a bit.
Okay.
She's the studio head, but Lucasfilm is located in San Francisco.
Yes, yes. Well, I know it is.
You also have
I
to
know,
assume that Pablo's telling the truth, which that's a leap.
yes, I just know they've also had houses in LA for a long time. So that's what I would
Yeah.
need to know to answer that question fully. Has she mostly been in Los Angeles through these years? But I just think at the end of the day, though, she still has to have oversight one way or the other, because if you're her and you're for this stuff that they're pushing, then yes, you're saying, yeah, let's keep doing it, guys. This is good. But if not, if she wasn't for it, she would want her name not attached to this crap. So, I mean, I think she's clearly still heavily involved on some level, at least greenlighting things.
Well, I mean, and the quality has been so bad that if she is involved, I don't know that it improves the quality one bit. That's what we're dealing with. Is we have a bunch of individuals who have proven that they cannot create any items of quality. The only person within the last 10 years who's created anything that fans have really enjoyed has been Jon Favreau. Now, you might make some exceptions for those involved in the creation of Andor, but Andor didn't pull viewership either. So that's problematic. Lauren, help me out here. I mean, do you think that we'll really get a season 2? I mean, do you think they'll really go through with it? It would be $200 million if they keep up the same production values, and it's not charting on subcharts. Like at all. It's down in Willow territory.
Logic and sense would tell you no, but it depends on what Disney is thinking about Lucasfilm. And I think my position is that I think Dave is kind of doing the day-to-day direction of Star Wars content. I think he's the one that is kind of the authority now for everything that's going to be developed, but he's acting as an agent on behalf of Kathy. And Kathleen right now is still there. I think that he has to please her, but having him in place creates some distance between her and this. And if things don't work out, then some of that gets tarred on him.
He's the fall guy.
I think we do a disservice when we focus so much on Pablo. I think there's a tendency to do that because he's heavily involved with the story group and because he's been the public face of a lot of the interaction with fans.
Well, I only point him out because of what he said about Kathy. I don't enjoy giving attention to Pablo Hidalgo. Well,
here's the point that I would make is that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was that we actually had the conversation with him, when we were talking with him, it was a little contentious here and there, but what he was telling us at the time was the truth. And he has said multiple times that he's not in charge of the story. I believe that. And from what we know of the story group, I don't think they have the ability to veto the creatives that are behind the shows and the movies. I think they can sprinkle things in as lore, and I think
creative is kind, Lauren. Creative is kind in this context.
What I'm telling you, though, is that if we're focusing on him, I think there's lots of reasons that you can have disagreements with Pablo, but I don't think he's in charge of it. And I think their job is primarily shepherding the publishing and sprinkling story details in that are supposed to tie things together. If you really want to look at where the problems are, I think it's probably at whatever creative direction is being given from the top, whether that's from Kathleen or from Dave, about where are we taking these shows and how much is the direction being given to the showrunners to say, we want to have these particular topics inserted into the shows. That's where I think we need to focus things.
I think that as we go forward, one aspect of this that should be monitored is Disney's got an earnings call coming up this week. And by the way, I looked it up, Lauren. D23 will start Friday, August the 9th, so not far away at all. It follows in the heels of the earnings call. But Disney's got an earnings call, live coverage on the Valiant Renegade YouTube channel. We'll be there. But Disney and its shareholders, investors have got to be uneasy, I would think, with the position of some of these franchises. Disney is investing with their latest cruise ship. It's basically Marvel themed. That's a floating hotel based on Marvel. Disney tried a hotel based on Star Wars and it failed. And it was a landlocked cruise. I don't see anything that Disney can do with Star Wars at this point. It's so damaged. Outside of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, maybe Jon Favreau pulls off a miracle. I don't know. But if I'm an investor and I look at how much this franchise has been devastated, I got real questions about it. And if we are greenlighting stuff like the Acolyte season 2, then I'm saying, are we just lighting the money on fire? Because there is no return on investment here. Michelle, I'm going to give you the last word on this. Do you think there will be pushback from those in the institutional side of this, from the economists inside Disney who say this is insanity to invest in this thing?
I mean, you would think, how could there not be? but like, how have we arrived where we are at this point anyway? So I mean, so maybe they don't, but at some point you do feel like at some point, when do they see they can't keep doing this?
Well, they could spend $200 million on a giant Kathleen Kennedy statue made out of coagulated blue milk. That would be better ROI, because at least people would talk about that sucker.
Yeah, I mean, you literally, it's like you said, you might as well just set the money on fire to make that. I mean, I would say I'd say you and I would be happy with the season 2. It's good for us.
I'll make more money. I promise we'll make more money than Disney will, just like we already did.
Yes, so I'm like, let's bring it on. Let's go, guys. Let's do this.
Let's desecrate Yoda even more, baby.
Are you really going to subject yourself to a season 2 of this show? Would you actually watch it?
Lauren watched me.
That doesn't sound good to me.
Lauren watched the pain. He heard the pain in my voice every episode. Like,
it was
he even called me out at the end where he was like, this is annoying you. Like, you can't even have an aerial view of it. And I had to admit, this is so bad that it's bothering me having to watch it. I don't know.
It weighed at the end. It definitely did.
What's the YouTube channel where the guy gets where he takes stings? What is that? Brave Wilderness or whatever? I think that's the one.
Oh, no.
The guy who lets the bees and stuff sting him, and you watch. That's what we're doing here. It's the entertainment version of that. Lauren, you had a thought.
Just that the thing that startled me was to see how angered Culture was, who's usually pretty even keeled, and to just see the offense and the anger there, that told me everything that I needed to know. I mean, it was bad enough just kind of trying to follow along with you describing what was happening in this.
It inverted morality.
I mean, Lauren, the show was. Here's the kicker of the Acolyte. Was the show a horrific, like, killer of a Star Wars show? Yes. Like, it kills everything that came before it in a bad way. But was it also just in general one of the worst written and directed shows of all time? Yes, I think it was. Yeah,
I'd take the worst episode of any show you've ever seen and do it 8 times.
Yeah,
and that's being kind to those who were involved in the Acolyte.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, this feels like I think Disney has decided that Lucasfilm is the sacrificial lamb. I think they've made a determination that what they're going to try to rescue is Marvel. It may work, it may not. But I suspect what's going forward now is just an experiment. Let's see if we change something over here and we don't change something over here. What are the results? And that's, I think, the ammunition that's going to give the investors the clout to finally apply pressure.
Well, I'll tell you something that caught my eye as we get ready to wrap up. It's not worth it for an entire video, but I'll just introduce it here just so people know we're noticing, and maybe it will be a topic for conversation in the future. When I looked at the Deadpool and Wolverine credits at the end of the movie, and I saw that essentially Disney had outsourced to Weta instead of ILM, you better believe that caught my attention. And I think it says something about the state of everything at Lucasfilm if Disney no longer trusts ILM. And that's pretty much, that in the sound aspect, pretty much the only financially successful parts of Lucasfilm remaining. So that's a big, big deal. All right, folks, another big, big deal is going and subscribing to Force of Light Entertainment. Michelle, tell the folks out there what's coming up soon on your channel.
Yes, we just did our review of M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, and then this week we should be able to have out our first time watching reaction of Back to the Future 3 and possibly Blazing Saddles.
Okay, that's a great list.
You have never seen Back to the Future 3?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, you're in for a treat. I'm excited to watch that, to see how you reacted to it. That's amazing.
We really got into it at the end.
And Lauren, you are also, you have a great list. You've got some great reading coming up. Tell the folks out there what you're doing on your channel.
Been reading through Darth Plagueis after the Acolyte came out, because I thought that might be the appropriate thing to do.
Is he lurking in people's bedrooms in this one, or is that Not the same.
No,
Different
no.
Plagueis.
The Darth Plagueis that I know definitely would never be engaging in that kind of behavior, and he certainly wouldn't allow these noisy Sith Lords to go around slaughtering Jedi all over the place, because that's making too much noise.
Well, don't worry, because Yoda apparently did not have his Force-sensitive hearing aids in at the moment. All right, folks, help us send this sucker out on the waves of YouTube. Click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts, for a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and waste not yours. If you're not yet checking out the channels of our wonderful panelists, their links are down in the video description below, as is the link to help us out with Vacation Radio. So go click on those links, and you will be sending yourself into even better content right here on the YouTubes. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Are you sick and tired of stuff being swept under the rug because you or the media are too lazy to actually deal with it? Or are things just building up around you so much that you can no longer ignore it? Also like the mainstream media? Well, I got the solution for you. I'm Wilton the Troll, and I want to tell you about this revolutionary new product called Jonas. That's right, no longer do you have to put up with stuff shoved under the rug. You can actually get rid of it and dispose of the problem in seconds by using Jonas. You can, in a matter of seconds, deal with the political and illogical buildup of the muck and grime around you effectively and efficiently with Jonas. You might think this is an ordinary vacuum, but you'd be wrong. You can clean up and remove from one end, but Jonas, he actually works from both ends. From the back end, Jonas can blow a whole bunch of hot air, and that's cool. Remember folks, if you actually want to deal with the dirt and grime the mainstream media has been neglectful about, get Jonas, 'cause Jonas sucks.